9 minutes. That's all it took for the 2026 World Cup to have its first goal, its first hero, and its first broken team. Mexico 2, South Africa 0. 3 red cards, a man in tears at the Azteca, and a tournament opener that told you everything about both sides, if you knew how to read it. Let's start with the goal that started everything. Julian Quiñones, born in a small town in Colombia's Nariño region, raised in poverty, moved to Mexico as a teenager, built a career in Liga MX, became a naturalized Mexican citizen in 2023, and last season outscored Cristiano Ronaldo in the Saudi Pro League with 33 goals to win the Golden Boot. Colombia never gave him a senior call-up. Mexico did, and in the 9th minute of the first game of the 2026 World Cup on home soil at the Azteca, he scored the tournament's opening goal. But here's the detail most people missed. The goal didn't come from Mexico's brilliance. It came from South Africa's fear. Yaya Sithole, on his World Cup debut, playing the biggest game of his life, had his pocket picked on the edge of his own box, a basic turnover, the kind of mistake that happens when nerves get louder than preparation. Quiñones pounced, cut inside, and fired through the goalkeeper's legs. 80,000 Mexicans erupted. South Africa had been swallowed whole by the occasion before the game was 10 minutes old. And it only got worse from there. Mexico kept pressing, kept probing, kept exposing exactly what the analysts had been saying about Hugo Bruce's side before the tournament. They wanted to play out from the back. They wanted to be composed. But playing out from the back requires calmness, and calmness requires belief. And belief was the one thing the Azteca was systematically stripping from South Africa minute by minute. Just before halftime, Quiñones hit the post. The margin should have been 2. Then the second half arrived, and Sithole's afternoon went from bad to catastrophic. Brian Gutierrez burst into the box. Sithole lunged, and the referee had the red card out before Sithole had even stood up. Last defender, clear goal-scoring opportunity, no debate. South Africa down to 10 men, barely 5 minutes into the second half. 9 versus 11 at the Azteca. This was no longer a football match. It was survival. Mexico made it 2-0 in the 67th minute, and the way it happened meant more than the goal itself. Raul Jimenez arrived at the back post and headed home. Simple, clinical, inevitable. But the image that followed wasn't of celebration. It was of a 35-year-old man standing on the pitch with tears running down his face. In November 2020, during a Premier League match for Wolverhampton against Arsenal, Jimenez clashed heads with David Luiz and fractured his skull. He lay unconscious on the pitch while teammates watched, not knowing if he was alive. He was rushed into emergency surgery. Doctors said his recovery was a miracle. He returned to professional football 8 months later wearing a protective headband, learning to trust his body in aerial duels all over again. The mental challenge, he said, was harder than the physical one. He went through the 2022 World Cup without scoring. He lost his father earlier this year. And then, in the 67th minute of a World Cup on home soil, on the Azteca, he headed the ball into the net and wept. In the same game, Themba Zwane was shown a second red for South Africa. VAR spotted him slapping an opponent in the face. 9 men, 2 red cards, 2 goals down. The game was a formality. Mexico's own center-back, Cesar Montes, was sent off in stoppage time for serious foul play, which just added to the chaos. 3 red cards total, a World Cup record for an opening game. Now here's the brutal reality behind the scoreline. Mexico won 2-0, but their 16 shots produced only 4 on target. South Africa's goalkeeper, Ronwen Williams, arguably their best player on the day, kept the scoreline respectable. If Mexico had been more clinical, this could have been 4 or 5. That matters, because Mexico's next game is against South Korea, a completely different technical challenge. But for South Africa, the math is simple and merciless. 2 suspended players, Czechia next, then South Korea, no wins yet, group stage qualification looking distant. They came to this World Cup carrying 16 years of absence, a qualifying campaign that nearly destroyed itself, and the weight of a nation that has never once seen Bafana Bafana make it past the group stage. Today didn't change that story, it continued it. Some teams go to a World Cup to win it. Some go to find out who they really are under pressure. South Africa just found out. Subscribe if you love football's real stories, the ones that live underneath the scoreline.